They say history is written by the victors, but what if the truth was buried with the fallen? Every secret leaves a trace, if you know where to look. This is The Broken Truth, decoding history, one broadcast at a time. The Broken Truth podcast, where history meets conspiracy. Every case tells a story, every story hides a lie.
Imagine the sky itself turning against you. A global light show. Holograms of deities. Thunderous voices echoing from satellites. And the world falling to its knees, believing the end has come. But what if it was all a projection?
Welcome back to the Broken Truth podcast. I'm your host, Garrett, and today we're going to dissect one of the most chilling government theories ever proposed, Project Bluebeam. What if the apocalypse itself could be engineered? According to this theory, NASA and global intelligence agencies might be preparing the greatest deception in human history, a staged second coming, powered by satellites, holograms, and psychological warfare. If you've ever questioned whether faith, fear, and technology could collide to control the masses, this episode is for you. Before we begin, make sure you're following the Broken Truth podcast wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. Like this video or leave us a review if listening, and you believe the truth deserves to be heard, as it really helps the algorithm share our content with more people. And finally, join our Discord community for avid conspiracy theorists like yourself, where the conversation continues long after the show.
The second coming has arrived. This is Project Bluebeam.
This episode is special because we're not going at it alone. Joining me tonight is the mind behind Conspiracy Factor, Spencer. Spencer, the host of Conspiracy Factor, is a new show that's been tearing open the curtain on everything conspiracy. Together, we're diving into one of the most provocative theories ever documented, Project Bluebeam, the coming fake apocalypse. Welcome to the show, but before we get into the meat of tonight's discussion, I want to step back for a moment. For the audience tuning in who might be discovering you for the first time, what originally pulled you into this world of hidden history and conspiracy?
So for me, like many others, I believe it was John F. Kennedy's assassination. That's what pulled me into the world of conspiracy theories. On my show, I kind of prove some of the facts in my season 1 JFK. And I knew if they could lie then, they could lie prior to that, and they've been lying ever since. So conspiracy theories have their hooks in me deep. So
interesting. So when you say they, who do you mean by they? Because there's a lot of concepts around they.
Yeah, there is. I think we know who they is, and it's the powers that be, I think, is the best way to describe them. Right, the puppet masters behind the curtain that are controlling most of the world today.
Okay, so the puppet masters, in my perspective, be referred to something as the Masons or the Illuminati or the Cabal or something like that, or the deep state.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. Hey,
Awesome.
I'm right there with you. Right there with you, Spencer. I love it. So what kind of made you decide to start the Conspiracy Factor and give it a voice to these kinds of investigations?
So there's a couple of things. I've listened to several other podcasters that I love, and I'm like, I ought to get into that. I think I could do that, and I think I've got a point of view and a perspective that most people haven't looked at or thought about. And so throughout the course of watching all the JFK things you can find on YouTube or Amazon or wherever, or reading everything and listening to every podcast, I thought it was my turn to give my spin on it, my spin particularly being the truth. And hopefully open a few people's eyes to it.
Love it. I know, your first season JFK is dropping this Friday?
Yep, Halloween.
Okay, this Friday the 31st. I'm not sure if this episode's going to be quite then, but I'll make sure to link to your first season in our description so our viewers can check you out.
Awesome.
Alrighty, well, before we get started here, give you a little context of how this video is going to roll. So my AI assistant Aura will be introducing a synopsis of each topic covered tonight, and then we'll be discussing our deep dive research with you.
In 1994, Serge Monast, a Canadian investigative journalist, published Project Bluebeam. His report alleged that global institutions intended to manipulate faith and perception through technology, beginning with the falsification of archaeological discovery, then simulating the Second Coming, using holograms projected into the atmosphere. Monast's mysterious death 2 years later, officially from cardiac arrest, deepened the myth. Let's examine his life, his claims, and the four-phase blueprint he described.
Who was Serge Monast? Serge Monast was a Canadian investigative journalist, poet, and conspiracy researcher, born in 1945 in Quebec. In the early 1990s, he began publishing politically charged exposés about global control systems and secret societies. His most famous works are Project Bluebeam, 1994, and The New World Order in 1995, both self-published in French before being translated and circulated through early online conspiracy networks. Monast positioned himself as a defender of Christian freedom against technocratic globalism. His writing accused NASA, the United Nations, and the Vatican of plotting a staged second coming, using technology to establish a global religion and government, what he called the ultimate psychological operation.
So was Serge Monast's death natural, or was it silencing him? He died suddenly in December of 1996 from what was officially recorded as a heart attack, just 2 years after releasing Project Bluebeam through NASA. Conspiracy circles claim his death was not natural. Supporters allege that he was targeted after repeated police raids and arrests tied to his writings, and that his children were temporarily taken by the state shortly before his passing. What fuels suspicion is the pattern. Several researchers who published similar themes, like journalist Bill Cooper with Behold a Pale Horse, and author Jim Keith, Mind Control, World Control, also died under controversial and abrupt circumstances. Whether coincidence or consequence, these patterns created silenced whistleblower narrative that surrounds Monast's legacy.
Monast's first phase proposed that governments and scientific authorities would falsify archaeological discoveries, artifacts, or ancient texts to undermine existing religions. He claimed these fake revelations would reinterpret spiritual history and weaken faith-based resistance to the new order. In modern context, this would mirror how narratives can be shaped through selective media coverage, academic bias, or technological forgery, such as AI fabricated ancient inscriptions or manipulated satellite imagery of supposed biblical sites. The core idea is to destroy the old belief systems, then introduce the new one.
Now we can move on to the holographic space show, so to speak. This is the most famous part of Project Bluebeam. Monast claimed that satellites would project 3D holograms of religious figures, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna, into the sky above each region of the world. The images would merge and align into a single universal God, convincing humanity of a divine event. Today, we know atmospheric holography exists in limited forms, such as Japan's Sky Canvas project or China's aerial floating city illusions. These use ionized particles or drone synchronized light projection. In theory, large-scale satellite lasers could project or reflect imagery across clouds. Though global synchronization remains implausible, still, the concept eerily foreshadowed modern display technology and mass optical manipulation.
According to Monast, the next step involved electronic telepathy, the use of low-frequency radio waves or microwaves to transmit thought-like messages directly into the human mind. He referred to this as the voice of God technology, claiming it would mimic divine communication and create mass obedience. Science does acknowledge the microwave auditory effect, first documented by Dr. Alan Frey in 1962, where certain frequencies can produce perceived sounds inside the skull without external speakers. Declassified U.S. military research confirmed the phenomenon in limited ranges, primarily signaling. While there's no proof of global-scale development, the existence of this principle keeps the voice of God claim within speculative plausibility.
Monast's fourth and final phase described the ultimate objective. After the staged global revelation, humanity would accept a new world order, a centralized religion system and political authority designed to replace all nations. He linked this to the United Nations agenda, claiming it would unite finance, religion, and surveillance under one digital infrastructure. Today, we see shades of that prediction in globalization trends, centralized banking systems, biometric IDs, expanding digital governance frameworks. Whether these are coordinated or coincidental, they echo Monast's warning about trading sovereignty for stability.
Was Monast predicting real tech or blending sci-fi with paranoia? The truth likely lies in between. Monast extrapolated real technological developments and psychological warfare research into an apocalyptic narrative. He wasn't inventing from nothing. HAARP, microwave research, and early holographic patents all existed in the 1980s and 1990s, but he interpreted them through a spiritual lens, warning that mankind's faith could become the next battlefield. In that sense, Project Bluebeam isn't just a prophecy or paranoia. It's a reflection of how technology and belief can merge into a single instrument of control.
The early 1990s were fertile ground for theories like Bluebeam. The Cold War had just ended, leaving intelligence agencies without a visible enemy. Global institutions like the UN, the IMF, and the WTO were expanding influence. NASA faced declining budget and public scrutiny, and the digital revolution was accelerating faster than regulation. Meanwhile, governments had been exposed for real covert programs, MKUltra, Stargate, and HAARP among them. So when Monast claimed the secret collaboration between space agencies, militaries, and spiritual institutions, the public was primed to believe it. He simply connected the threads of his era's greatest anxieties: faith, science, and control.
So that's the foundation Serge Monast laid out. 4 chilling stages of a man-made apocalypse. But theories are one thing, execution is another. If Bluebeam was ever more than a manuscript, it would need technology powerful enough to rewrite reality itself. And that's where things get interesting, because the tech Monast warned about in 1994 actually exists today. Let's break down how science, satellites, and sound waves could turn the sky into a state.
Project Bluebeam depended on advanced optical and auditory manipulation. The concept draws from legitimate military research, HAARP's ionospheric experiments, microwave auditory effects documented by Dr. Alan Frey in the 1960s, and DARPA's early holographic display project. From atmospheric light projections to directed energy communication, each technology forms part of the legend. Let's explore which of these are real and which remain theoretical.
The foundation of Project Bluebeam's space show rests on the idea that holographic projections could one day fill the sky. Japan's Sky Canvas project, which was launched by AILCO, uses microsatellites that release metal particles into the atmosphere, burning on re-entry to produce colored light streaks, essentially artificial shooting stars. It's entertainment science, not religious theater, but it proves controlled atmospheric visuals are possible. China's floating city phenomenon have been filmed multiple times since 2015. In each case, cities seem to hover over the clouds of Guangdong and Jiangxi. Most scientists call it a Fata Morgana mirage, light refracted through layers of humid air. But the viral images demonstrate how easily the human eye accepts illusions when context is removed. U.S. military hologram patents, such as the 1990s 3D holographic projection system and DARPA's Battlefield Illusion program, explored ways to project false targets or psychological decoys. None of these could span continents, yet they show that optical deception is a military interest, not pure fiction. In short, we already have the ingredients for a local scale illusion. Bluebeam simply scales them up into the sky.
The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program in Gakona, Alaska, is officially an ionospheric research facility. It uses a powerful array of antennas to heat small portions of the upper atmosphere and study radio wave propagation. Legitimate science behind HAARP helps improve satellite communication and study auroras. After 2015, it was transferred from the Air Force to the University of Alaska Fairbanks for civilian research. Suspected manipulation behind this conspiracy is that researchers argue its frequencies could modify weather, trigger earthquakes, or interact with human nervous system. No verified evidence supports that. But because HAARP's capabilities include modulating electromagnetic fields, it became a convenient villain for theories like Bluebeam, an invisible infrastructure capable of painting the sky or influencing perception. The truth is that HAARP can't project holograms or control minds, yet it represents how scientific secrecy feeds mythic interpretation.
The voice to skull and microwave auditory effect. This part of Bluebeam claims that technology exists to transmit sound directly into the human head, an inner voice of God. The phenomenon is real. In 1962, biophysicist Dr. Alan Frey discovered that pulsed microwave energy could produce audible clicks or tones perceived inside the skull without external speakers. By 1973, the U.S. Army had documented the microwave auditory effect for potential battlefield messaging. Patents such as US 3951134, 1976, titled Microwave Auditory Communication System, describe exactly that, sending coded voice signals via pulsed microwaves. How small-scale tests work. The energy heats tissues in the inner ear slightly, causing a vibration that the brain interprets as sound. Range is limited, usually under a few hundred meters, and the beam must be tightly focused. Weaponized potential. In theory, a directed energy array could deliver subliminal commands or confusion effects to individuals or crowds. In practice, atmospheric scattering and power limits make global coverage impossible. Still, the existence of these patents fuels the plausibility of electronic telepathy.
Could global projections synchronize through satellite arrays? Technically, not with current systems. Satellite constellations can coordinate light displays, like SpaceX's Starlink flares, but not 3D holograms visible worldwide. Atmospheric conditions vary greatly for coherent projection. However, if one imagines a hybrid model, satellites providing synchronized light pulses while ground-based lasers project upward, localized regional illusions could be possible. That's the realistic ceiling. Regional, not planetary, yet visually convincing enough to shock uniformed populations.
Plausibility, each Bluebeam component, holograms, microwaves, ionospheric manipulation, has a documented scientific counterpart. Scale them up, and the theory gains surface credibility. For exaggeration, the logistics, energy requirements, and global coordination exceed known capability. No evidence suggests the integration of these systems for psychological warfare. Project Bluebeam may have been a symbolic warning that humanity's senses could be engineered to serve political or spiritual agendas once technology advanced enough.
Whether or not it's possible, belief doesn't need proof, only presentation. And history shows that once people see a miracle, they rarely ask who built the projector.
Beyond machinery, Project Bluebeam targets the human mind. By staging miracles, the theory suggests mass belief could be directed toward obedience. Historical programs, Operation Mockingbird, Operation Northwoods, and MK Ultra, show precedent for narrative and behavioral manipulation. If those operations influenced perception through media and drugs, Bluebeam extends the same principle through vision and sound.
Throughout history, religion has been the most powerful psychological weapon ever wielded. And propaganda, its modern evolution. When Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity in 313 AD, he didn't just end persecution, he weaponized faith for unity and control. By merging church and state, he reframed divine authority to legitimize imperial power. During the Crusades, popes used religious imagery to justify centuries of warfare, convincing an entire population that violence was sanctified, that conquest equaled salvation. Faith became the marketing arm of politics. In the modern era, mass media inherited that mantle. Film, television, and now algorithms shape global belief systems, not about gods, but about ideologies, fears, and heroes. Where priests once interpreted scripture, today networks and influencers interpret reality. The mechanism is the same: selective storytelling to guide emotional obedience. So Project Bluebeam's premise, using miracles to unify or control the world, isn't new. It's just propaganda with divine production value.
MK Ultra proved the state's willingness to
Experiment on
consciousness. The CIA's project from 1953 to 1973 tested LSD, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation to discover how thoughts could be altered or erased. It attacked the mind chemically. Project Bluebeam moves that concept from the laboratory to the atmosphere. Instead of chemicals, it uses perception itself, sights and sounds, as the delivery system. MK Ultra,
targeted individuals. Bluebeam,
if real, would target civilizations. Both share the same core idea. If you control what a human mind experiences, whether through a pill, a frequency, or a vision in the sky, you control the conclusions it draws. It's not about destroying the mind. It's about owning the narrative that runs inside it.
Human emotion is contagious. Neuroscience calls it mirror response. We subsequently mimic others' feelings. That's why fear and awe spread faster than logic. When large crowds witness something inexplicable like a miracle or apparition, rational thought collapses into group emotion. History records mass visions at Fatima in 1917, where thousands claimed to see the sun dance in the sky. Whether meteorological or mystical, the effect was real. Panic, tears, conversion. Project Bluebeam weaponizes this principle. A holographic vision doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to trigger emotional contagion. Once fear, awe, or divine recognition takes hold, belief reinforces itself. The event becomes self-validating. That's the genius of engineered miracles. They don't need to convince your mind, only your senses.
Could Bluebeam unify faiths or fracture them further? Monast suggested Bluebeam would unify religions under one false savior, but psychologically it might do the opposite. Each faith has distinct expectations for its messiah. Jesus, Mahdi, Maitreya, Krishna. If projected simultaneously, each population might see its own reflection, a perfect, tailor-made vision. In that sense, Bluebeam wouldn't unify the world through faith. It would fracture it through revelation. Each group would claim authenticity, while elites play the role of mediator, guiding humanity toward a neutral one-world belief. Chaos breeds consolidation. Division leads to dependency, and that's exactly how control is maintained.
This is where the line between theology and technology dissolves. If science can manufacture a vision that feels spiritual, does authenticity matter? Is divine defined by source or by effect? A holographic Christ that inspires peace might do more good than a real prophet ignored by the masses. A fake miracle that ends war could still unite billions. But once truth becomes irrelevant, replaced by utility, we enter moral freefall. Because whoever controls the machinery of revelation controls morality itself. That's the philosophical horror at the heart of Project Bluebeam. The idea that God could be replaced by graphic.
We're already living in a proto-Bluebeam age. Virtual UFO videos spread faster than official statements. AI-generated miracle footage racks up millions of views before anyone can verify it. Even NASA's legitimate discoveries are now filtered through conspiracy algorithms and edited TikTok montages that blur fact and fantasy. The 2023 to 2025 UAP disclosures, combined with sudden mainstream coverage of extraterrestrial themes, mimic the conditioning staged Monast described, preparing the public for a sky event no one can question. In other words, we no longer need satellites to fake revelation. Social media already projects miracles into global consciousness daily, and the audience conditioned by repetition no longer distinguishes simulation from salvation. And maybe that's the final irony. Bluebeam didn't need to launch rockets or deploy holograms. The illusion already exists in our pockets, on our screens, and in our minds. So the question isn't whether they could stage a miracle, it's whether they already have.
Today, illusion no longer requires satellites, only screens. Deepfakes, augmented reality filters, and AI voice replication now simulate reality with precision once reserved for science fiction. When coupled with real satellite imaging and social media algorithms, the infrastructure for global illusion already exists, decentralized, invisible, and voluntary.
Deepfake technology has made Project Bluebeam no longer a prophecy, but a metaphor. Artificial intelligence can now generate ultra-realistic faces, voices, and events that never occurred. The same algorithms that let studios resurrect deceased actors can also create live footage of politicians announcing wars, religious figures performing miracles, or UFOs descending over cities, all in 4K, all believable. In 1994, Monast warned of a holographic apocalypse. Today, the holograms are digital, broadcast not from satellites but from smartphones. Instead of projecting illusions into the sky, we project them into our own retinas through screens. Deepfake culture is Bluebeam, decentralized, democratized, and invisible.
We now live inside a convergence where entertainment dictates belief, politics borrows spectacle, and religion adapts to virality. Political rallies resemble concerts. News anchors use cinematic soundtracks. Churches live stream with lens flares and AI-generated backdrops of angels. When fake miracles trend, like bleeding statues, angel apparitions, or AI-generated
Signs from God.
millions experience emotional reactions before verifying authenticity. The collective psyche no longer waits for evidence. It reacts to narrative. The modern mind treats information like theater. As long as it feels true, it is true. Bluebeam's essence isn't technology. It's the fusion of performance and perception, and we've already perfected that formula.
Global readiness for mass illusion. Why skepticism has eroded. After 2 decades of constant crisis, pandemics, wars, political upheavals, and viral misinformation, global skepticism has mutated. People are no longer skeptical, they're numb. Information overload causes what psychologists call cognitive fatigue. The brain stops fact checking and simply accepts whatever offers coherence. Add to that a generation raised on CGI, augmented reality games, and digital influencers who aren't real, and you get a population trained to suspend disbelief by default. We are emotionally primed for large-scale illusions because we crave meaning amid chaos. When the next divine sky event appears on every screen, most won't analyze it, they'll share it.
Since 2020, the Pentagon has steadily released UAP, or unidentified aerial phenomena footage, officially acknowledging objects defying known physics. These sanitized revelations drip into mainstream media every few months, just enough to normalize the idea of something beyond human control. The psychological result is acclimatization. The more often we see official channels discussing non-human craft, the less shocking a future sky event becomes. Bluebeam theorists argue this is phase 1, preparing the collective imagination for a controlled revelation. Whether or not that's true, the conditioning is measurable. Disbelief is turned into curiosity, and curiosity into expectation. Humanity is waiting for a show.
Psychological fatigue. Constant exposure to end-of-world media. Our entertainment diet is apocalyptic. Streaming series about plagues, invasions, and divine judgment. 24-hour news cycles predicting economic collapse or war. The constant barrage of doom imagery dulls critical thinking and heightens passive acceptance. When every headline screams catastrophe, a real one feels routine. This fatigue creates a paradox. People crave hope but are addicted to fear. That emotional duality is exactly what an engineered event could exploit. A population so desensitized to destruction that they'd welcome any savior, even a digital one.
Bluebeam might not need to happen. It's already digital. Project Bluebeam doesn't require NASA lasers or global holograms anymore. It already exists in algorithmic form of screens, influencers, and AI systems that curate collective belief. The illusion is continuous, self-sustaining, and voluntary. The apocalypse won't need to be projected across the heavens. It will unfold silently through the feed, frame by frame, scroll by scroll. Bluebeam might not need to happen because we're already living inside it.
Whether Serge Monast uncovered a genuine operation or created a self-fulfilling myth, Project Bluebeam endures because it mirrors our deepest vulnerability, faith in sight. The line between revelation and simulation has thinned to static.
For me, Project Bluebeam sits in that strange pace between prophecy and possibility. I don't believe in every claim Serge Monast made, but I believe in the pattern of control through perception. History shows us that when technology evolves reality, manipulation follows close behind. Whether the sky ever becomes this stage or not, the capacity to rewrite beliefs already exists.
And I'm on the skeptical side of that line. I think Bluebeam is more myth than manual. A warning that got mistaken for evidence. Yet the reason it resonates is because governments have lied before, and that track record keeps conspiracy culture alive. So while I doubt NASA is preparing a fake apocalypse, I don't doubt the human instinct to deceive when power is on the table.
Ironically, every time a theory like Bluebeam catches fire, it does the government's job for them, flooding the truth with noise. Secrecy survives not because information is hidden, but because it's buried under confusion.
Exactly. Conspiracy culture both exposes and preserves the unknown. When every possibility is on the table, no one can prove any of them. That ambiguity becomes a perfect camouflage for real operation. You can hide a classified project in plain sight just by surrounding it with 10 crazier ones.
Could Bluebeam itself be the psyop? That's the paradox. What if Bluebeam isn't the plan and it's a distraction? A psychological operation designed to make people distrust their senses, their faith, and each other.
A self-feeding illusion. The more people believe in it, the less they believe in anything else. It turns skepticism into paralysis. You start questioning reality instead of authority.
In that sense, Bluebeam could already be complete, not as technology, but as an idea, a virus of uncertainty that infects belief itself. If truth can be manufactured, how do we verify anything?
Maybe we can't verify anything anymore. Maybe the only real filter left is intent. Who benefits from what we're seeing? Who gains when we're afraid?
That's the battle line of the modern age, discernment. In a world where reality can be edited, truth isn't discovered, it's chosen. We either chase clarity or collapse into comfort.
Project Bluebeam reminds us that not every deception requires force, only faith. That the most powerful illusions are not projected into the sky, but into the human mind. Whether Serge Monast uncovered a classified operation or wrote a metaphor for mass control, his warning still echoes. When technology becomes indistinguishable from divinity, belief itself becomes the battlefield. Tonight, we trace the line between myth and mechanism, from holograms and microwave patents to the psychology of fear and faith. What remains is the question that lingers behind every broken truth. If what we see can be fabricated, what is real? If what we hear can be transmitted, what is sacred? And if revelation can be engineered, would we even know? This concludes your public briefing. Aura signing off.
Thanks for joining us today on the Broken Truth Podcast for this deep dive on the topic of Project Bluebeam, co-hosted by Spencer from The Conspiracy Factor. Spencer, where can our listeners find you online?
Really, anywhere you can get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and now YouTube. I just created my own channel over there. Just search The Conspiracy Factor and you'll find me.
Well, Spencer, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. Look forward to having you on the show and doing some more content with you in the future. I'll make sure to link to all of your content in the show notes link that's going to be in the description of this podcast.
Thank you. It's been great.
In a world built on hidden histories and half-truths, we've only just begun to peel back the layers. Because what you've heard tonight was never meant to be known, but you were meant to find it. If you're ready to go deeper, leave us a review, comment your thoughts, share this episode, and step inside the archives. Join the inner circle, where the real evidence is kept. This is the broken truth, because the truth isn't whole, it's broken.